Security is one of the biggest and fastest growing parts of technology in 2025. And it will be that way for the longest time to come. One of the biggest threats that happened in last year, if we're following this thing called CrowdStrike that disrupted airports, flights, and things like that. That was some security infrastructure that didn't work the right way, and you see how much impact it has. Now imagine if that was actually a security threat, what that would have meant. Today on the podcast, I have the pleasure of Daniel joining me. He's the founder of HackerProof and a cloud security engineer. Really excited to dive into your experience and what is the why behind your mission. Welcome to the podcast, Daniel.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Juwan. Thanks for having me. I've seen some of your clips on YouTube. I've seen it on even LinkedIn, and I've seen you on Instagram. You're doing a great job. Just want to put it out there first off, and appreciate being here. I'm Daniel Imhans. I won't say my full name because I don't want you guys looking me up. I'm Daniel, cloud security subject matter expert. Been in the field for 9 years now, and also I'm the founder of HackerProof HQ. Founded HackerProof earlier last year and just been running it all thanks to God. Everything has been good and having great guests and looking forward to having you on the show in the future also.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So the reason why working in tech is such a big part of my mission is because
Hmm.
if you look into kind of like the industry to day to day, you're in it, so you understand exactly what I mean.
Of course.
There's not a lot of people, black and brown people specifically, who are in the industry, and that's why I wanted to spotlight this kind of stories
Yeah.
to show people what's possible. But if you take me all the way back, why did you even think tech was an avenue for you when you got started?
To be honest, man, I was doing I was a medical degree. I was trying to get my pre med in college at first, and I was having a hard time in class, man. I wasn't even paying attention most of the time. I was skipping class, and I needed something that was easier, and I already liked, and I was always my old computer that my dad would buy. I always break it apart and try to see what is inside. So I spoke to my counselor once, and I was like, "All right, what is good for me to study, and what would be good like with the credits I already have with pre med? What can I move over and like transfer that over to?" And it was on computer engineering, so I did that for my undergrad. It was challenging at first, I won't lie. Just being taking all those coding classes when you haven't really coded before. But I had the right group around me, friends that were doing the same thing, so it was easy for me to make that transition over. And after that, I did my master's in cybersecurity. During my time doing my master's in cybersecurity, I actually landed in a support job in Microsoft, not working directly for Microsoft, but working with one of their vendors. And I was doing Azure support. So that just brought me into the cloud. I did that for a year and I started bouncing around, just job hopping, being in a company for 1.5 years, 2 years, get my experience. I did infrastructure engineering. I did that for like about 6 months, and I was lucky enough for the company that I was doing infrastructure engineer to have the opportunity to go to the cybersecurity team. And I was the only guy that knew cloud, so they threw all the cloud projects my way, cloud security projects. So I just used that opportunity to master Azure. And I worked with other companies too, Fortune 500 companies that also were focusing different cloud service provider like AWS and GCP. So there, my experience just built on, and it just went up and went up. Worked on several different leadership roles, and today, that led me to almost like finding HackerProof because I knew there was a gap also for blacks in tech. There was not enough, community that had just interest in making sure that blacks are getting together, Africans are getting together, coming up with ideas, sharing their knowledge, and just passing on to the next generation.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. And that's really exciting because one of the things that, I think people coming up now have the benefit of having that a lot of people, 5, 6, 7 years ago didn't have was just having people front and center, who look like me and you talking
Of
about
course.
technology.
Of
It's
course.
interesting you sharing your origin story, like, you had a counselor and it was you looking for a way out. If that hadn't
Yeah,
happened, you don't even start a tech career. So
you know it.
what, in terms of like thinking about your journey, right? If
Mhm.
someone may have a degree, because, one of the things that I look at specifically, like in the Black community, especially around young men,
Yeah,
they don't usually go to college a lot of times because when you look at the life outcomes, they don't see that high pay, especially within the community. So that they tend to try to focus on other careers. So for
Hmm.
people like that who may have maybe started a different career, but are now trying to pivot back into tech because of the high potential, what is a way for someone who potentially doesn't have a college degree to make that leap?
Uh, I had friends, and also my own start in tech wasn't really going into cybersecurity. I think there's a misconception out there that you're gonna get into tech and you're gonna have your dream career. That's not really true. I had friends that started off as a help desk. I think the first thing you want to do is just get your foot in the door of any company. I think that's where you get hands-on experience. Is not talked about a lot, but hands-on experience in tech is needed for you to make that transition over to infrastructure engineer, to a cybersecurity engineer, to a cloud security, or to DevOps. If you don't have that infrastructure knowledge of how to do things on a lower level and build on that, you going straight for cybersecurity might have a harder time. Like just getting mixed up with the team and just knowing exactly what you'll be doing.
So I want to break that down a little bit, right? Because
Hmm.
I see like it's something that I've been guilty of, but also like has been done to me, right? You help on a
Yeah,
team and they start using all these acronyms or words. That It's like, what are you talking about? So when you
right.
talk about infrastructure, just to
Yeah.
the layperson who's not even in tech, can you
Uh-huh.
break what that means down even a little further?
So infrastructure is basically what the business used to make money. So infrastructure could be like servers, any kind of appliance like racks, anything for networking. So you just have to make sure those infrastructure is protected if your company is on premise. But some company have their infrastructure on the cloud, and that's where my expertise lies. That having like servers, having virtual machines, having firewalls all in the cloud, and just having like security solutions like CASB, cloud security posture management. SAS and DAS, vulnerability scanning tools, and just having like even SAS, software as a service, security solution, just to help protect the infrastructure. So those are all infrastructure. And let's say, for example, sorry, my phone is going off for some reason. Let's say, for example, you're someone who is uh, let's say on the software development cycle, your company focuses on software. So your company is building software to help them make money. Your job is to protect their company's software, intellectual property, just make sure there's no public routes for attacks to happen to your company. So there's so many different ways infrastructure can be described. I'll just put it in a way that it's just something used to protect something that your company used to make money. Those could be servers, VPN racks, anything around that you have in your on-premise environment, operation center, or you have in the cloud.
Absolutely. That's
I
dope.
know that was a mouthful. So
Yeah. And if I could even maybe just extend it a little bit, right? If you
uh-huh.
think about like every single thing that exists, if you think about, let's say, you know, a Popeyes restaurant, for
Yeah.
example, people only think in terms of like the sandwiches and like the fries and like the chicken wings and thighs and things like that. But if you think about it, like there's so much on the back end, right? Like the
Mhm.
cookware, the spoons, all of that, like those are the things
Right.
that exist in that business specifically for them to be able to deliver you that service. And the
Of
same for
course.
technology, right? A lot of times we're downloading apps on our phones, but there's so much that goes behind
That
it,
goes in
right?
the
Like
back
in the
exactly.
back end that makes all of that app run smoothly, from networking things to like storage, like every
Hmm.
single thing. Like, of course, that's why we're the customer. We're never supposed to worry about it. But people like Daniel on the other side, that's kind of like what keeps him up at night. So
Exactly. It's true.
again, and I think it's going to be a huge opportunity, right? Because if you think about it, more and more businesses, one of the most powerful examples that I thought about was banking, just as an experience. 20 years ago meant you had to physically go into a location, you had to talk to someone, write something on a piece of paper for that whole transaction to go through.
Nowadays,
You could
everything's
literally open bank accounts, run it for multiple years without ever stepping foot in a bank. Everything just happens digitally. And there's a threat almost at every single level that you can think of, right? Whether it's you logging into the app or,
mm,
people managing the thing, doing the migration, putting the data somewhere. Like there's threats.
PCI data, PII data, all
Yep.
those employees data, customer data. Those are out there. Those are people are looking to get those information at hand.
Transactional data.
Of course.
Yep.
So it's our job is needed to help protect that infrastructure. So if we see anything that is like a vulnerability or some kind of risk, identify it and come up with mitigation strategy for it.
Absolutely. So back to your experience, right? Um, One of the things that you talked about was like the place of of course, like getting your foot through the door, but also potentially like
Job
having
hopping.
getting lucky, right? Job hopping, finding yourself in the right opportunity. For
Hmm.
someone who's thinking about modeling a career or building a career out in tech, what does that look like? In terms of getting your foot through the door and then making a plan. Like, how should someone think about building a career in tech?
I think just getting your foot in the door first. Not You don't have to go the route of a cybersecurity engineer, cloud security engineer. That's not needed. You don't have to try to shoot for the same thing I'm shooting for. Because sometimes the way life goes is that you get an opportunity, and as you're building that opportunity, something else comes about that might lead you a different trackway in life. So not everyone is going to be a cybersecurity engineer. Not everyone is going to be a cloud security engineer. But one thing you can try to do is go into a company and learn. And you don't know where your opportunity lies. You might end up on the networking team. You might end up on the database management team. But the whole goal is just keep building up on that and finding what is next and just looking for your next route to success, basically. So I
Absolutely.
would like
Right.
me going into a company right now. I would just, if I had to model myself on someone who's trying to get into the field at this moment, I would look for the first opportunity that comes my way. And when I get the opportunity, I'm already thinking about the next thing, thinking about, okay, who do I need to talk to in this company? Who's the person that I need to be friends with, just so I can maybe understand exactly what happens in their department. And people are willing, if you act interested in things and just act like you want to know about something, people are willing to tell you about what they're doing. People will tell you exactly, this is what I do, this is the technology I use, this is how I do my job, and it's your job for you to pick up those skill sets and act on it and maybe update your resume, learn about those different technologies, how to implement it in your working environment, and just act on it. Nothing is wrong with adding that extra, you know, bulletin to your resume that said I did this, but you just know it in the sorry,
Bless you, brother.
you just know it in on the high level. Oh, look at that! I should have brought some water next to me. Oh,
Sorry about that, man.
no, you're good.
So the just to kind of like break that down, or at least kind of like summarize it, it's like you always
Hmm.
have to be a willing learner, right? Like get
Of
your foot
course.
in the door, figure out which pathways are there for you to learn, but also like start tapping on people, right? Like don't think about your knowledge as just like courses or things of that nature. Your learning can also be actual people showing you the way or teaching you the ropes, essentially.
Of course, of
So that
course.
brings me back to my next question, right?
Hmm.
Kind of like building on from what we talked about. So this is the pathway, but how does somebody even get started in the first step? So think about it, right? I watched your video, I got inspired by it,
Hmm.
but I don't know anything about tech. What's the first thing for me to go figure out?
I think there's a lot of communities out there. Even you have a community, so it's good to be able to find a community that you think you relate to and ask questions. Again, people are willing to answer you and help you out if you're asking the questions. And also, not only asking questions, you're following up and you're doing your own research. For example, you go ask Juwan a question now about, hey, I'm looking to get into the door, but I get into tech, but I don't know exactly what position I want to do. And Juwan gives you advice on exactly what you need to do. You need to act on it. Start looking up information. There's free videos on YouTube on how to get into tech. There's free videos on YouTube on different technologies and positions in tech. So acting upon it, just looking up those information, doing your research. ChatGPT is your best friend now. I know Google is something that we used to use back then, but also there's ChatGPT now. Anything you don't understand, tell ChatGPT to explain it to you in easy to understand terms that maybe makes it easy for you to like get the not get the concept. So I think this finding the community, networking, going on LinkedIn. There's people on LinkedIn who are hiring, who are willing to also help you. Just making sure you find the people at certain jobs that have the position you're looking for, and just ask them questions. Join the community, networking. Networking events is also big. I think you need to be also have friends that know that in the industry that can help you out. So if you're able to network, uh, join the community and ask questions. I think that would be, without paying a lot, because there's a lot of people trying to charge you money for different things nowadays. But without paying a lot, networking, joining the community, and just asking questions, I think that would be a good start for anyone looking to get into the tech field.
Hmm. That is so dope. And it's so interesting that you say that because again, that's validation for a lot of people when you think about what exactly it is that you need to do when building up to get into this field, right? Like
Hmm.
get the information, but there's so many people who get that information but don't do anything with it. But I think it's so funny. Like I just made a video about this specific topic that you mentioned, because
Mm-hmm.
I've probably gotten more than like 60, 70 people ask me the same question about what role should I pick in tech. So in my mind, it's like, okay, you know what? I might have just well make a video that
Yeah.
addresses that. And I've made actually a first part of a 2 to 3 part video, which one
Huh?
is first your
You gotta
personality.
you gotta drop that on the channel. Let me know after so I can actually watch it myself.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So the first one
Uh-huh.
I did was the personality, because I think that gets
Mm-hmm.
overlooked, and I don't blame people, because a lot of times is that, I watch. Let's say somebody watches this episode, they get so inspired and like, oh, I want to become a cloud security engineer.
Of course.
Great, but you might actually be someone who's been a teacher, or like, you work in grassroots politics canvassing, and that's more like a sales engineer role, or even
Mm-hmm.
a tech sales role. So you
That's
find
good.
yourself like looking at all these lines of code and trying to understand all these technical terms where you had no business doing that in the first place. Like you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
successful doing something. And in this video, actually what I did was, so Career Foundry has a skills test that I took myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, even though it wasn't 100%, I then took the result of that personality test and plugged into the chat GPT. And that
That's
kind of like got me closer. So I've actually built some kind of like
exactly.
science around the research, and then I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
build on it. But absolutely spot on, right? Like you have to be intentional about the way you think about it and do that research. And the reason why
Yeah.
that is important, just lastly, is there's no role in tech. Like if you don't want to do research, you might as well just forget about tech. Like
Of
you're
course.
always going to have to learn things. You're always going to have to figure things out. And I think for the
Every.
people who do it, that's what most of us enjoy, right? The fact that nobody's handing you anything. They say
That's
this, I'm
true.
like, bet.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead. You were going to say
No,
something.
I can even speak on that. Like even in tech, there's nothing is guaranteed. Like every day is something new. You might be working on a new project that you have to learn everything all over again. Just learn the new technology, learn the new terminology. So I think someone who's trying to go into tech has to have that openness and willingness to learn every single time, because you're always going to be learning something new. So you going into tech saying, okay, I have this knowledge and this is what I'm stuck with, and this is what I believe I'm going to be doing the whole time. Is a failure, is a way to set yourself up for failure in tech, because you're not really open and just willing to do anything. Because in tech, I think there's a thing that everybody knows about, that is something that you keep learning every day that you're in the field.
Hmm. So something that you mentioned also was networking or mentorship, kind of like brands
Of
of that,
course,
right?
of course.
Talk about why it's important. That's one. And then two, for a lot of people, again, don't forget, like they're coming out of the industry. How do you even find your first mentor, your first people in the community? How do you build up to that?
Is being active, live sessions, again, events, mixers, tech mixers, all this kind of events that people, communities are having. You should be looking into those, seeing exactly which one you attend, and just finding out which one is in your community that you can attend. Because the more you show up to those events, the more you network, the more you speak to individuals who are in the field or who are trying to get into the field, you yourself will get the idea of exactly what you need to do. Because I have someone that I recently mentored. He was looking to break into the field, so I gave him a few steps. I'm the kind of guy that don't really. I give you something to do. If you don't come back and report, I won't follow up with you, because I don't really have the time to keep bugging you about something that you say you want to do. So I gave him a few steps. I told him his name is Meek. He's just actually got a job recently in tech. I gave him a few steps. I told him, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to get your security plus. Any questions you don't have, please go ahead and plug it into Chat GPT. I gave him specific steps. Then he came up to me and said, okay, hey, bro, I'm ready to take the test. I said, all right, go take the test. Let me know what you did. He said, I passed it. Okay, I said, all right. Now I gave him one of my old resume. I told him, hey, look at all this stuff. Do you think you do all this? He said, yeah. He started doing his research, plugged everything in ChatGPT, understand every terminology, ask more questions, and within 2 months, he got a job in tech. And that's just based on effort. So if you have the effort and you want to keep pushing and keep asking questions, you could do anything you basically want to do in life. Just have to have that push.
You see, like stories like that is exactly what gets me excited and like makes it worth it for me, because it's like
Of course.
the reason why I chose tech specifically is
Hmm.
it's one of those places where like you talked about like starting like your pre-med, like
Hmm.
you can't get off the street and go become a doctor. That's not how any of that
Uh,
works.
Mm.
But tech is that one industry where, like, if you're willing to grind, if you're willing to put in the work, it doesn't matter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know Elon is not everybody's favorite person right now, but he made a tweet early this year where it's like, we don't care where you went to school, we don't care what degree you have. Show us your code. If it's good, we're gonna hire
Of
you.
course, of course.
That is the energy, right? Like, a lot of people overlook that because it's one of the places where your skills and what you know will speak for you. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
so outside of like that specific story, or maybe we take it back, like it
Mhm.
resumes is another thing that a lot of people trip up off, right? And I
Mhm.
see, like, on Twitter, everywhere else, I see a bunch of like bad resume advice, right?
Mhm.
What's the key to building a great resume?
Uh, I was that application tracking system. I think that's something that is heavily used nowadays in resume building topics around. You have to make sure your resume matches the application tracking system. That is also true. But then again, you have to have substance on your resume. Like, let's say, for example, for each company you work for, and let's say you're applying for a cloud security engineering job, you need to at least a project that you've done in a way that, let's say, you go have that interview with the interviewer. That conversation just speaks that, hey, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've led a project that I don't want to put specific details out there because it doesn't really matter right now. But I've led a specific project that I've done several things in your own field that, and you can talk about it and have that conversation about it like you already did it. That will make you look good in front of the interviewer. So whoever's interviewing you. So if you're able to have those bulletin on exactly what you've done for each company you've worked for, and talk about it like you've done it, and just maybe lead the conversation in a way that the person interviewing you is the one asking you the questions. It makes it easier for you to, like, maybe you to get the job, because that's the way I do going to interviews. I make sure I'm leading the conversation, talking about my experience. They might talk about the technology that they use in the company, and I'll maybe mention two or three things about that technology, so it makes me seem I'm competent in that area. So just making sure I'm ahead of everything, just making sure I do my research before every interview is really helpful. Also.
That is such a powerful message, and bringing that back, right, to someone who's not done the role, right, because that perfectly works for somebody who's been in the role before.
Yeah.
So take the example of somebody who's never been in the role. How do you still show your worth, right? How do you show your
Um,
ability?
One thing that HackerProof has started doing recently is giving individuals projects based on. I will tell them, go create a cloud service. Go to a cloud service provider, Azure, AWS, GCP. It doesn't really matter. Set up an environment. You get $200 credit. $200 credit to spin up resources and take resources down. And we give them specific projects that will give them the skills based on real world scenarios of what we do in our day to day. If you have someone that's able to provide you projects that it might not be in a corporate setting, but you're doing it for on the back end. I think you use that in your experience, and the way you word it could make it seem like you have done that in the company. So
Mm,
again, it's all tricks and tips how you set up your resume, how you put information that you've done. We might not have done it in the company, but you did it as a project, so you can easily move that information over. And I think that speaks a lot when you're able to explain yourself that about the things you've already done.
mm, mm. That is
But
that is
again,
something.
this is not it's not meant for everyone, because
Mhm.
everyone might not be comfortable, saying they did a project at home, and maybe finding a way to put that on the bulletin as a job that you've worked on before in a company. But again, it just depends on what risk you're trying to take and how you're trying to just set up your resume.
Mm. And that's a key one because I think just to kind of like help people get unblocked, because ultimately, of course, the doing something in an environment, because this took me a while to also understand, right?
Mhm.
There's when you work at a big company or large corporation and no name brand.
Siloed. Everything is siloed, so you don't get the experience of doing a lot. But when you work for a smaller company, you pick up all the skill set that you might need to do your job. So
Yeah.
that's true. It's true.
And even what I wanted to also add to that is like there's
Hmm.
so many things that you pick up, right? Like for example, like at my current job, like coffee chats are such a big thing. So you can
Hmm.
literally go meet someone who works in a different space and learn from
Hmm.
them. You also
Hmm.
pick up a lot, like just sitting in the meetings, hearing how people interact. And that's like valuable experience that you're building, which you may not have if you're self-learning. Okay, on the one hand.
Of course, of
But the
course.
flip side of that is you're not less valuable because every single person who works at a company started somewhere. Like they started
That's
from
true.
zero, just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is kind of like just building on what you said. It's more about showing proof. Of course, not everybody will give you a chance. Already
Oh,
understand that.
that's
And that's one of
yeah.
the things that you're up against. In life, we're always up against something. And in this case, that's something that you're up against.
I saw one of your recent was it tweet you posted on Instagram that you will have more rejections during a job interview than you have in your relationship life or something like that, and
Yeah,
it's
I
true.
said like you're gonna learn more about rejection in the job process than you're
Hmm.
gonna learn in any dating scene. And it's true.
Exactly, it's true. It's true. Yes.
So, but I think ultimately one of the things that will shine for you is when people see that desire, right? And also you have to put yourself out there a lot. Like that's the thing. It's like there are gonna be people who have filters who say no. I've literally talked to hiring managers who say fang only. And
Hmm.
in my mind, I'm like, wait, if you're only hiring people who are fang,
Kind of
the
limiting
people
yourself.
who got into fan came from somewhere. Like, are you
Right.
not thinking? But ultimately, they've set that filter, which is unfair.
Right.
But again, that's them. But on the other side, there's so many other people who are not looking at those arbitrary qualifications, who just say, "Can this person do the work?" Right?
Yeah.
And
Even I could add on to something you said about Fang. Fang is not the only company, guys, you can work for. There's other companies who have been around for 200 years that are not Fangs. And those companies, your even job security might be even higher in those
thanks,
in those
thanks.
companies that work for a Fang. Because Fangs, every year, a new Fang company, letting thousands of employees go. So
Yeah.
again, Fang is not the only place you can work for.
Yep.
So
Facts.
guys, yeah.
Facts. So, what is something that is often like misunderstood about tech, cloud security, or some of those subjects?
I'm just gonna use a joke that everyone believes. When they say cloud security, a lot of people told me I'm protecting the cloud. It's not the cloud. It's just Microsoft, AWS, Google. They have their own server racks with storage and different spin up in different environments, and you're going in there and using that uh, virtual storage that is in someone else's physical data center. So AWS, Azure, GCP, they have their own physical data center, and what you're doing basically is just reaching from that data center and pulling your own tenant, pulling your own side of the information. So the cloud is not anything too fancy, too scary, too complicated. It's just basically moving your on-premise infrastructure to use a cloud provider infrastructure that is located in different zones and regions around the country and in the world, basically. So I get that misconception a lot that cloud is something like fancy and special. It's special, but it's not too complicated.
And to maybe go a bit controversial, right? What
Hmm.
is your one hot take about cloud?
Controversial. Let's see. A hot take about cloud. Cloud is okay. Controversial. A lot of people believe that your data is not safe in the cloud.
Okay.
Um, do I think it's true? It just depends. If you have the right security around your data, even though the cloud service provider might have access to your data, if you have the right security, you can only protect what you can protect. Security is something that you could maybe have the best security, but it could be insider threat in your company also. So security is something that you can only do as much as you can, and
Mm.
everything else, just basically if you did your best in securing the environment, everything else is just extra. I'll put it that way. But I can't think of any kind of like big uh controversial take in cloud security. Do you have
Mm.
any?
So not cloud security, but cloud in general, right? Like
Okay.
I think just with technology, there's always a frenzy, right? Like
Uh-huh.
whether it's like AI, people talk about
Replacing all
it's
your
gonna take
jobs.
all the jobs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like let's implement this and let's implement that. I don't think that cloud is something that everyone should use, right?
Hmm.
And I
How
think some
come?
of the things that are even pushed about it, for example, is cheaper. A lot of times it's not cheaper. It's just something that is kind of like a selling point, if you like.
Yeah.
But I think again, mostly positive. But I think those are my two controversial takes. And one of them, for example, happened because
Mhm.
I kind of like spoke to an SRE, who used to
Mhm.
work at Twitter, actually a guest on this platform, and talked about how they built kind of like their own like private cloud within Twitter. And if you think about it, like
Mhm.
platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they probably consume more data than anybody else, right?
Of
So they have to
course, of
figure out
course.
like most of them cannot survive on AWS, Google Cloud, and all this other like as their core data platform. So they have
Mhm.
to be a bit more creative about how they're using data, storing data, moving data around, and et cetera. So in a sense, they still have the cloud, but not the public cloud in the way that we think about it. They were able to build their own infrastructure, co-locate them around in a way that worked for them, but it's not like cloud as most companies will be adopting it. So again, I still agree with the general principle, but that's what I mean about like not every company has to go buy
A cloud,
a,
cloud, right? Yeah,
yeah.
but the main thing about that is just scalability. Because usually, if you have a on-premise infrastructure, you have to worry about buying extra racks and buying extra servers just so you could plan for the future. With the cloud, you can easily spin up a resource and take a resource down once you're done with it. So I think that's the selling point that I like about the cloud scalability. But
Mm,
yeah, again, not everything needs to be in the cloud. Mostly government organizations really have everything on premise or maybe private cloud, which is
mm,
just controlled by them and they only have access to that. Like government organizations really have that. But then again, everything is based for me. My own perception is just scalability. Is easily you can easily spin something up, spin it down, delete it. So that's my own reason I like the
yeah,
cloud.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
when you think about like making career moves, right?
Mhm.
Would you consider ever like taking a pay cut, a 10-20% pay cut to make a different move in your career?
Um, when I was younger, I'm still young, but maybe in my early 20s, maybe no. But now that I'm secure enough in the tech field that I know that I've done things that I need to do. I've made the right investment in my life. Uh, as I get older, that might be something I might do just for a better working environment if I need to.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in terms of like role evolution, right? How has that
Mhm.
happened for you in your career? Because you talked about like you've done a few different things, and maybe onto that is like, what is the role that you've kind of like enjoyed the most of all the different roles that you've had?
I would say role. I would put it more of a culture. It's one of
Mm,
the earlier places I worked for. I don't want to put too many names of companies out there, so I'm going to hold that to myself. But one of the earlier places I worked for, they had a more of trying to. I came in young, so I felt like they gave me opportunity to grow in my career, and they guided me and encouraged me to do things that would make me shine the most. So I think because of that, I really have a lot of appreciation for that company, and I hold that company dear. Anytime I see someone from that company, or I go to conferences and I see someone that worked in that company, I always want to talk to them. Just tell them thank you because they gave me a track to be who I am today.
mm. And that's such a powerful thing that I don't want to lose track of. So,
Hmm.
in terms of even like, I think I know you had said like, Fang is not the only game in town. Then you
Yeah.
also talk about this experience.
Hmm.
Of course, like if I would give advice, and I'm sure it's probably the same for you too, it's like it doesn't matter where you get your opportunity, go
Hmm.
get that opportunity regardless. But if there
Of
was a
course.
dream place for somebody starting new in tech to work at, what describe what that environment would be like, or what type of company that would be?
So if you're someone who is looking to do a lot so you could learn a lot, which I am. I'm looking to do a lot. I'm looking to go in there, be able to touch everything, which is not really separation of duty is something big in cybersecurity, but I as a cloud security engineer or cloud security architect, I want to have access to everything cloud. I want to be involved in all the cloud projects so I can learn the most. So I'll look for a company that is not that big in size of the cloud department or the tech department. So as you're going in, you're able to have the opportunity to be hands on and touch all the different projects that relate to the cloud environment.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, so in terms of mentorship, right? You
Mhm.
had kind of like touched on it earlier, talking about how to approach mentorship in a positive way, right?
Of course.
reach out for help,
Reach out.
action the advice that you get, and then provide feedback.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other ways that someone should think about developing a mentor relationship? How to find a mentor? For example, one of the controversial things is like, don't go ask somebody to be your mentor, right? Because a lot of times you're putting a lot of pressure on them, right? Specifically.
I don't think maybe a mentor, but if you're asking the person the right question and the person is willing to respond, he might not respond in that exact moment, but maybe a day is responding to your message. That's basically your mentor. There's no there's it's not written anywhere, but he's your mentor. Yeah, he keeps responding to you, helping you out. I have people like that. Someone recently just asked me how I want to get into tech. I'm a security guard. I'm in school for tech right now. What do I need to start doing to get myself in the right position? And just keep asking questions, and I'm willing to answer those questions. And the person is willing to answer those questions. They're basically your mentor. I don't think you need someone who has a title of a mentor. I think that is used a lot to when people are trying to sell stuff online. They'll say, I have mentored this many people. But usually, if you have people you're mentoring and you just want to see them succeed, because again, someone helped me for me to succeed in life. So, why not pass that knowledge down and be able to help as much people possible? Because a lot of people are doctors, a lot of people are lawyers, but engineers are also doing great in life. So, you had that chance to get into the field, be an engineer. Why not pass that knowledge over to someone who's also trying to break into the field?
Yep, yep. You don't need
Yeah.
a title. You don't need a contract. Just get the help
Uh,
and work with it. And it's
no.
so funny. Like at my last job,
Hmm.
somebody was getting into like the company's mentorship program,
Of
and
course.
she kind of like came onto this like broader group and asked, "Hey, has anybody gone through this mentorship program? And what advice would they give?" I kind of like wrote a couple bullets, which are some of the things that you had
Hmm.
mentioned, like, be curious. Don't ask them things that you can Google on your own. Your mentor's
Exactly.
time is very precious. Like, if you break it down in hours, like the people at this levels, if you think about their time, right? These people are making anywhere from, $60 an hour if you put down their salary to that, to maybe
Hmm.
as high as like $200 an hour. So if you
Of
think
course.
about the value of their time in that space, which is what they're giving you, then you have to value it correctly, which means the biggest value they can offer you is to give you specific insight that you can't find anywhere else. If it's
Of
something you
course.
can find on ChatGPT, and it's not to say like, because if you can't ask them any question, then what's the use? But a question about, you know, I've done my research about cloud. I see the architect part is great because, X, Y, and Z. And I see security is
Hmm.
also great because of X, Y, and Z. From your
Hmm.
perspective, what is this?
Hmm.
Almost anybody wants to respond to that question because
Of course.
clearly you've done the work, you've put in the
Yeah.
work. So it's like,
Yep.
if I help, and that then goes to the final piece, which I said,
Hmm.
and so which I then said, like, work on it, make sure you do all the things that you said, because I then give the reason. I said the biggest payback you can give the people who pour into you is to succeed, right?
Of
And that's
course.
a big takeaway I want everybody to have, because look at how you jumped on here and talked about the story. Like, the person is never going to pay you. They're not going to say, "Oh, this is my first salary. Here's your cut." No, but the fact that like you feel like the work that you've put in has grown into something meaningful, that is the
Hmm.
biggest payback.
Of course, I can't. I could only support that conversation you just had, because everything you said is true. Someone is doing good, and you see, it's due to your mentorship, it's due to your guidance, and they even happy. I have the same people who I helped in the past ask me, "Let's go out to lunch. Let's have lunch one of these days. I got you. I'll cover your lunch. I just need to, tell you thank you. Just that feeling of having someone, want to thank you for something little you did. Maybe you just help them, you know, redraft their resume, or you help them, just give them tips to study, and they want to come back and take out to lunch. It makes you feel really good. It makes you feel like you're doing something for the next generation. You're doing something to help someone break into the field. So I can never talk bad or talk low about that feeling.
Yeah, it's the best. It's
Yeah.
even better than money sometimes.
I
Not all
won't
the
go that
time.
far. I won't go that far now. Money is important too, but just having that person that you've helped, it adds joy to your life. Put it that way.
So, um, cybersecurity, as with most things in tech, is something that's always improving and growing. What
Hmm.
advice would you give to anyone who's thinking about it, about how to stay ahead of new threats, trends, things of that nature?
Yeah, there are different conferences and different conferences you can attend. There's the Black Hat. There's Afrotech, but Afrotech, I don't think you might get that same latest trend. You might just get industry experts speaking about their experience, but you might not get that same latest trend. You need to go to like conferences like Ignite, uh, was it Black Hat, that one in Las Vegas. I think it's in Las Vegas. It depends on what industry you're working in. There's different vendors that you have that connection with that are tools that you're using in your company. So, and they're usually giving you free passes to events. Sometimes, not all the vendors though, are giving you free passes to different events. I just came back from one recently, and it was due to a vendor giving me a free pass to an event. So, just being connected in the community and being connected in different communities will really maybe help you know what is going on, know what is happening. If you're someone who's trying to get into golf tech, Simone Bees is doing her thing over there.
Shout out to Simone Bees.
Yeah, exactly. If you're someone who's trying to get into tech in general, there's tech summit happening in the DC area. So there's so many things happening, and we even trying to throw one maybe by Christmas time, by God's grace, in Houston. So as things are going on, we are planning, we are connecting with the right people. More opportunities are coming apart. So just keep a lookout, join the community, and just stay involved. If you're involved, there's 7 different group chats, group me, that have different security folks in there. So you just have to ask the people the right question and find out how you can join those communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, I just wanted to put up this PSA. We hope you're enjoying the conversation. If you have leave comments, leave likes, leave fire emojis, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them for Daniel in the chat. This is Working in Tech. We host it once a week, every Thursday, and of course, check out all of the amazing content that we have on the channel. But back to the conversation, I really want to talk about HackerProof, right? Because
Okay.
that is something that I came across kind of like me last year. And it's funny because I keep either running into people who are associated with your platform and then you reached out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
bet, let's do it. So
Yeah.
what exactly is the grand vision? I know like there's a bit of mentorship. I see the podcast. What is
Mm-hmm.
it for people who don't know?
Uh, we're trying to plug ourselves. I think one thing with tech that we notice is that things are constantly changing. So, we're just trying to be involved in the community. We did a mixer last year. We did one earlier this year. We plan on doing bigger ones in, I don't know if I should put it out there, Atlanta. We have one in Connecticut coming up. So I think just maybe getting the community stronger, bringing more people into the community. And just in the future, we are currently working on the resume optimizer app that helps you optimize your resume. Uh, it brings out job from different job platforms via API to our platform like LinkedIn, Indeed, and we're pulling all that data, bringing it to our platform so you can easily apply for all jobs that matches your resume. And we have an AI chatbot that helps you chatbot, and eventually it's going to be a uh, animated character helping you like interview prep. So they'll be asking you questions related to that job, and I'm just quizzing you based on how you answer those questions. So we're trying to make it easy for everyone who are trying to break into the field to have like something they could reference and make it easier for them to come to the field. So via events, via bringing industry experts to our podcast, talk about their experience, talk about exactly what they do, and the application that we're creating, and even courses. We brought in someone recently, Kyrie Fuller, to join the team, and he was willingly wanting to join the team because he loves what we're doing. And we brought him in recently, and it's working on courses for us. So in the future, short future, we're going to be offering courses for GRC, security engineers, SOC analysts, SOC security operations center analysts, engineers, and cloud security. So keep a lookout for that. We're just working. Basically, we're working. We're trying to make things happen. We Nigerians, Africans, so we have a hunger that can't be quenched.
So are all these courses going to be free or they're going to be paid or what's the model?
We so high ticket is going to be mostly high ticket because high ticket, but not nothing crazy. We don't have that details out yet, but as soon as we're drafting these different courses, we want to make it affordable also because we know what is out there. We know how the market looks. We know people are charging. Should I even put a value out there, or did you get? Well, people are charging 35,000 for courses. We're not doing that. People are charging 2,000 for courses. We're trying to keep it more on the manageable side, like maybe something around 1,000 or maybe below. We don't even know yet. But as we are working on this, having feedback from individuals who are had given access to the courses at first, then I think we'll be able to put a price on it.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, definitely excited to see how all of that works out.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
more
s-
excited about the events because the events is something we're even surprised ourselves for doing. The first one we did, we brought in Culture FM from UK, and we had over 400 people in there in our event. So now we're
was that during Afrotech?
yeah, Afrotech, so it helps. So you got to find the right spot to put your event, so you're able
God,
to,
yeah.
yeah. And we are doing one in Charlotte, and we know is a market that hasn't been explored yet. So we are betting on
Mm.
ourselves for being able to connect with the right individuals there and make it happen. So keep a lookout for that. That might be happening in a month or two. So we'll start promoting that soon and just bringing bigger guests to our show. We have really big guests coming. I don't know if I can speak on them, but just more people coming on, sharing their experience, sharing their knowledge, and just hoping that the whole message is for people to learn from that, learn from the industry expert coming on our show and be able to maybe mimic something they have done to help their own career.
Amazing. And because you talk to so many people, I want to pick your brain about, in terms of like breaking into tech, what are some of the, for example, unconventional strategies that you've seen people do, right? Because not everybody goes through like dump their resume in a ATS and wait kind of like on the, unfortunately, we're not moving forward hellhole, right? What are some of the things that people do kind of like to stand out that you've seen?
Well, stand out. You could. I don't think the cover letter is really used anymore. No one really looks at cover letter. It just goes in the trash. To be honest, that's what I think. But I'm not telling you not to use a cover letter. But what I'm saying is that in this new time where the job market is a little bit difficult, it's not as easy as it was maybe during the start of COVID. How everyone was easily getting those tech jobs. I think you have to apply for lots of jobs and you have to use some of those resume optimizers to quickly change your resume and apply for jobs because nothing is going to be easier. Nothing gets easier. So you just have to be able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Be able to change your strategy. And I think one thing I tell people a lot now is that doesn't matter if you're applying for 500 places and you get rejected as much as possible, but there'll be that one person that will take a chance on you, and that's what you're looking for. So keep applying. I know it's tiring, it's hard, even I don't suggest this, but find someone who's close to you and have them apply and just give them a couple of change. Someone young. I I won't advise that, but that's something you can also do. Just find a way to make the application process easy for you. Just keep applying, keep changing your resume, keep believing that someone's going to give you that chance because all you need is someone to give you that chance. So I'll land your first tech job.
Absolutely.
Maybe you
Um,
have more. If you might want to share also if you have any
Oh
other.
yeah, I definitely think like referrals like good opportunity. I think another one that could help is also like targeting, especially if you're in a city where they exist, right? Targeting like startup accelerators and things like that because people are very scrappy in that space. So a lot
Mhm.
of times, like I literally ran across a at an event, maybe a 17-year-old guy. So when he went to high school, he said he wasn't gonna go to college, and that was his
Mhm.
mission. And then
Mhm.
it was just applying to jobs, looking for things and stuff like that. And maybe like 6 months, he was this close to giving up. And then somebody reached out to him and it's like, oh, we don't care what experience you have. We just want somebody who could do anything. Think about it. This person doesn't have any tech skill, doesn't have any
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you know what? We need somebody to do something.
Hmm.
So if you're willing to learn how to do it, we'll do it. By the time I met it, it was the, I want to say, second or third year that he was in the that he was already he had left that company, went to like a proper like venture capital firm. But think about it, by the time he's already spent a year there, now he was a year's experience of whether it's like working at a venture capital firm. And if you think
Yeah.
about it, it doesn't matter, a year is a year, right, at the end of the day.
Of course, that's
So
true.
that's something that in terms of like unconventional strategies, I think those could help, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people get desensitized to applications, right? And
Hmm.
if you're not like, you don't have three FANG companies on your resume, you didn't go to Harvard, finding things that could potentially give you an added advantage. Of course, events and mixers or things like that, right? Can you make
Yeah.
an impression on someone if you go to
Mhm.
HackerProof's mixer and then this guy says, "Oh, now I know this guy. Maybe we're hiring for like
Of
apprentice
course.
a program." And another one is like apprenticeship. That's another
Of
good one.
course. Of
This
course.
as programs set up specifically from companies to attract talent that are untraditional, right? Like your non-traditional talent.
Mm-hmm.
The only caveat to that is like those tend to be very competitive, right? Because
Of
again,
course.
there's a lot of people coming into that pipeline. So that's the only thing
Yeah.
that I would
One thing else I can add to that is that uh, we are also doing it, but with the application we're working on, we basically had to learn how to code ourselves. And I think just being able to bring people in who are also hungry. Some of my friends, some of the guys that I had conversation with. In the future, we might be doing this for HackerProof. We'll bring you in to be a part of helping us manage our application because it's going to be managed in house. And just maybe if it's something that you're good at, because a lot of you said apprenticeship. So if it's something you have that motive, you have that knowledge, and you want to work, I think maybe reach out to HackerProof maybe shortly when we have that ready, and just see exactly how we could maybe bring you in and have you work on the application in some way or format and get you that technology you need because it's deployed in Azure. It's deployed in Azure, so if you're someone looking to pick up that cloud skills or pick up any kind of like skills in terms of vulnerability management, SaaS or DAS, because we're gonna have different tool sets to help monitor the application. So if you're someone willing and want to learn, make sure you keep up with HackerProof or keep up. I don't know what Juwan. I don't know what you guys are doing for your community, but Juwan also is this community out there
you
too.
know, it's interesting because I was just gonna say that. So last week when we had Victoria Six Figure Techie, shout out to her.
Mm-hmm.
She also kind of like plugged, because she has she offers like some sort of apprenticeship as well where people kind of like can work for her and build experience. So that's two opportunities, right? You come for the knowledge, you leave with the opportunity. So
Exactly. You
hit
get
up
extra.
HackerProof, hit up Six Figure Techie, you know, not just knowledge, but also like actionable things that you could do to give yourself that
Yeah.
leg up.
And we provide free projects also. Like let's say for example, you're someone who's looking to. I'm sorry, Juwan. I'm just to
No, no,
cut
no.
you.
Feel free. So usually we plug everything at the end,
Uh
but because
huh.
we're not getting any questions, we might as well just plug everything.
Okay. And we provide free projects. Let's say for example, you're looking for projects in GRC, a SOC engineer, vulnerability management, or anything cloud related or DevSecOps. We give you free project that you could maybe use to build that skills that you're lacking and put that on your resume somehow as experience. So you can maybe use that for when you're applying during the application process.
Mm, that's dope.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of this show.
This is one of the longest recording I ever did.
Yeah,
Even
it's
for
usually now, but it flies by pretty quickly though.
it
I'll say
does, it
that.
does. Even for
And
hacker proof, we haven't gone past 4 hours. I mean 40 minutes in the
really,
episode. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we usually do an hour. So in terms of just uh earning potential, because that's something that
Everybody wants to know.
everybody wants to know, like how much can I make? And no shade, no hate on anybody. Like if it probably didn't pay this much, I probably won't be doing it, but that's a different
Exactly.
conversation. So what is the earning potential for someone starting out, someone in the middle of the career, and then as a
Someone who
start to get more
experienced.
senior? Yeah.
Yeah. Someone starting off, let's say, okay, are we going to use cloud security as an example, or are we using tech in general?
Let's use the cloud because I think that would be
Okay.
more
Okay.
appropriate for you.
Okay. Cloud security. Someone starting off should be looking between anywhere between 75,000 to 100,000. Sometimes 125,000. Then someone in the mid level, 125 to 150, and someone in the seniorship level could be anywhere between 150 to 250. So it depends. It depends on what company you're working for. It depends on what you're doing. Someone who's a cloud security architect could be looking at 250 and above. It just depends on what company. So I'll say work hard because tech pays. That's my other message to people.
Why do architects get paid so much?
They're involved in everything planning related to the cloud. They design the architecture for most of the deployments. They know the ins and out of the technology, and they are someone who's at a higher seniorship level than a senior engineer. So they have usually they have merit in that company. They have been there for a long time. They have worked on so many different projects, and the company is scared to let them go, so they make them architect. That's just them. that's that's just my definition of why architects get paid that high.
You know, it's so interesting that you say that because like the architects that I know, they're usually all like staff engineers. So that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, geez, in the game for sure.
Oh, geez, they've been there for so long, and actually they deserve it because being in the company that long, being there for most of the deployments, you become like a subject matter expert in everything, and it
Facts.
makes you someone that they need to go to. So they deserve it.
Literally like the go-to guy.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Thanks. Yeah, so I don't know if you had any last words, any words of encouragement, anything you want to
Um,
plug even further.
I just think if you're motivated and you're highly motivated and you see that you think you need to escape the current situation you're currently in, uh, make sure you're asking questions. If you're interested in tech, make sure you're asking questions, ask the right people the questions, and don't be scared of rejection because during the application process, it's not easy. You're gonna get a lot of rejection, like he said. That Instagram, or TikTok, sorry, not TikTok, Twitter post that you had is stuck in my head now because it's true. You're gonna get rejected a lot before you find that right opportunity for you. So don't be discouraged. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep studying. It's a field that you have to always pick up new knowledge, ask questions, form a community between your own network, and just help yourself and the person in your community just improve their skills. Because in my community, people ask me questions. I'm getting new information on the newest technology out there. So it's good to be in that group with people that already doing their thing, so you could be able to share knowledge between you guys.
You know, it's interesting that you said that because my in terms of the rejection piece, my next
Hmm.
video is actually about how 600 rejections led me to my opportunity contract opportunity at Apple. So
Okay.
that's a video that I do have coming out. You
Check
guys should check it out.
it out.
Really gets into the emotions of like going through all of that rejection, but also like coming out victorious. And I think it goes back to one of the things that you said that I think is really powerful. Like
Hmm.
when it happens, it could be like you could apply to 5,000 jobs. None of that matters when it works out.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
that's
You know,
true.
it's like doing 10 businesses you fail, but then the next one you become a
What works?
millionaire. It's like
Hmm.
what loss?
And usually, when you enter that first company that you want to work for, you gain a lot more confidence that the next application you shoot out there is easier for you to land a job now because you have that
Yeah.
confidence. You're able to talk about what you did, what you know. So just get your foot in the door, and everything else is gravy.
Gravy. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to wrap it. Thanks everyone for joining the stream. It's been the Working in Tech. Next week we have another amazing guest. Thank you so much, Daniel. Go check out HackerProof. Check out the podcast. They have an amazing podcast where they bring a wide variety of guests. I think the latest one they had an entrepreneur and someone who's had a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
experience working across different fan companies.
Of course, of course. Yeah. It's gonna be bad on me. Jasmine, we had Yasmin in our last episode, and we had the founder of Baddies in Tech. So going forward, we're gonna bring more industry experts who have had their great experience. Like even Juwan, we're bringing Juwan on eventually. I think maybe June. I think that's what we said June. Around June, Juwan is gonna be on HackerProof. So looking forward to having you on, and looking forward to talking about your experience in tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone. That has been the show tonight. We'll call it here and then we'll see you again next week.